This company, you know, got that area, said you can go there, $750 for a room for a week. That's not well.
Six o'clock, we'll call the meeting to order. We have a quorum. First item of business is a public forum for 3 minutes limit. Individuals may address the city council about any item not included on the agenda. Speakers are required to state their name, address for the council records, and limit their remarks to 3 minutes or less. Speakers are requested to refrain their comments around items that fall within the authority of the city council. Generally, the city council will not take official action on items discussed at this time, but may place them on file, take matters under advisement, refer the matters to staff or a committee for future report, or to direct the matter to be placed on an upcoming agenda. If anybody wants to speak?
Yes, I would if no one else is going to go. I heard from a friend yesterday who has a background in the law. Robin Hensel, 807 First Street Southeast. I was encouraged by what he had to say, and I'd like to read it to you. Robin, the city of Little Falls demands you remove almost all of your circus characters and signs ridiculing the city council as deplorable. The city of Little Falls has no right to censor your criticism of the city council. Complying with the demand would gut your display and totally dilute your message. The city of Little Falls' demand is vindictive. Clearly, Mayor Van Risingham and most of the Little Falls City Council cannot tolerate dissent. I'm glad you are challenging the sign ordinance. The sign ordinance violates free speech and property rights. If need be, you should take your case all the way to the United States Supreme Court. Despite the court's conservative makeup, it usually protects the advocacy of ideas, pure political speech. The court would probably find the Little Falls sign ordinance too burdensome on advocacy and not a reasonable time, place, and manner restriction, as Judge Kyle erroneously ruled. The following is from the deposition of Frank Gossiak, summer of 2013. Frost is my attorney. Frost, I believe there was an attempt to remove Alderman Crowder from the council. Is that true? Or were you on the council then? Frank, I was on the council. We had no legal grounds and everyone knew that. Frost, you voted in favor of the motion? Frank, I did, and legally I knew it was going nowhere. This is from LeeAnn Doucette's deposition, same year. Frost, would you read the first sentence of that letter, please, or the first paragraph of that letter? Would you read it aloud, please? Doucette, although you were found not guilty of physical confrontation on August 10th, 2011 with your blood relative on this council, is demanding that you resign from the city council as alderman at large effective immediately, including all commissions and boards. Frost, I want to see that I understand this clearly. In the letter you state that Alderman Crowder was found not guilty of doing this act, but you still want him to resign. Can you explain that, please? Doucette, he's an embarrassment to the council. So did you have any evidence that this was true? No. Did you ask for any evidence? No. Did you really care whether there was any evidence? Not particularly. What this council did to Alderman Crowder in 2011 was despicable, cowardly, and unlawful. At each meeting and every opportunity I get, I will be discussing your lawless actions. This council, by their own admittance, knew they were wrong and went ahead anyway. This is a rogue, lawless council. This council was on a rampage to kill democracy and silence the voice of the people they are supposed to represent.
Anybody else want to speak? If not, we'll go on to regular information. Courtesy bench, DMR2, cable, city administrator.
Yeah, our city attorney's here also, but you did get the memo from Paul Reavers. indicating that his recommendation is to move forward with the approval since you agreed to the settlement agreement earlier. I know Councilmember Boyum had a number of questions, and you know, I told him what those questions were, and I don't know if he answered all of those in here or not, or what, but he does recommend to go ahead. It is on the consent calendar tonight at item 6C, so either you can talk about, take it off of there and talk about it, or go ahead with it at this point.
Well, we already voted on it, really, when we voted on the settlement, so don't see why we have to bring it up again.
Mr. President, I'd like to speak on that. I did have my questions answered. I talked to Mr. Reavers, and I understood the whole time that council has voted this in, that she is allowed to have a bench there. I don't agree with that, so I voted against it. What council voted it in, and that's legal, and that's the way it's done. I just had a few concerns, and I did talk to Mr. Reavers about that, and I think the person, GMR, they understand that if benches are wrecked, they're willing to take care of them, and that's their business, I guess. So at this point, my questions were answered, and I guess we go forward from here.
Mr. President, were his questions answered with Councilmember Boyum? He asked two questions. If the city could lease to her, that was one of his questions. Did he address that in the letter?
No, I don't see it in here. I talked to Paul a little bit about that, and I don't know if Tony had a conversation with him, but as I understand it, if the franchise agreement we have would go away, let's say we wouldn't renew the franchise agreement, it renews automatically. Right now, it renews year after year after year after year. There's some action that either we or the franchisee need to take in order to terminate it, if we want to do that. I understand it that she would then have the ability to put a bench on that site on her own.
If Jeff didn't have the contract anymore,
Yes.
she would just enter with something.
That's the way I understand it.
Next item of business is Franklin outdoor advertising proposal. Steve?
Proper to come up here?
Sure.
My name's Steve Anderson, representing Franklin Outdoor Advertising this evening. We currently are leasing land owned by the city for an off-premise sign. That lease is coming due within a year. And we'd like to discuss with you the opportunity to write up a new lease moving forward. And I'm not sure how we go about that, who I talk with during the process, but we would sure like to speak with you on that and continue on leasing the site. We believe it'd be an asset as a business for a landowner, an asset either as an income stream or as a way to promote the city and marketing plan. So we feel it's an asset for whoever the landowner is to either generate income, or perhaps in the city's case, I know you have the zoo and other things that you advertise on billboards with, and you could use that to your advantage by leasing the site out. So it could be a cash plan or a advertising plan, and use it to your ability the best way you'd like to, and just like to have an opportunity to work something out with the folks.
So, Mr. Anderson, are you stating basically that the city would pay to rent that sign out, basically?
No,
So
we
that-
pay you.
Okay.
Where is the site?
It's not, I think it's typically, it's a holding pond right now.
There's a picture of it here. Your packet.
It's the second sign south of the salt sand shed when you go on Highway 10. As you're going south, there's where the city salt sand shed is, there's a billboard to the south of that. It's the next one south of that.
And so what's the history of this? Because I know that billboards within city limits are, it's we can't have billboards within city limits, so how did this sign come about?
Can I,
Anybody got-
refer to Loren on that, just give a little history of this, please?
Yes, please.
So, the land was originally owned, I think by Rosette Pulaski, I believe was the person that owned the land. The land was then sold to a developer who developed part of the property, built some homes and stuff on it, and then the city came and later and purchased this piece of property, the parcel of land, for a stormwater holding pond. When we did some work on the opposite side of Highway 10, we needed a holding pond for it to go to. So at the time we purchased the land, this lease was already existing, the Franklin advertising lease was existing, and there was no cancellation clause or no way to cancel it. So I believe at the time, the agreement was that the city would, we bought the property, we would take over receiving the lease payments, and then once the lease had expired, then the sign was gonna go away. It was, kind of the intent at that time. And I spoke with, Mr. Anderson about the lease, and then, he's proposing that we renew that lease again.
Well, basically, if we would do that, we'd be breaking our own sign ordinance. Because,
No, I don't, it's considered, I'm sorry.
I just asked, I thought there was other ones that are grandfathered in and we're gonna continue to leave there, is that not true? Is there other signs within the city limits that
there
are
are
gonna
billboards within the city
billboard?
limits, but not on city property.
so this would be the only one that, and like I said, at the time, remember the discussion is that when the lease came up, that the intent was then to get rid of the billboard.
Well, why couldn't we, if they're in place doing the golf course on it?
Because then I would feel we're breaking our own sign ordinance.
Really, it's owned by the city where it's fair business for the city, correct? Not an off-premise sign, city property, every business, city business,
How long was that lease for?
right or wrong?
Well, it's just that we can't have
30
billboards
years, I
within the
think.
city.
But aren't there other ones grandfathered in that, will that be?
But it's not on city property. Well, yeah, I
I
guess.
think go ahead. The way I see it, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's considered a legal non-conforming sign. It was legal when it was erected, the permits and stuff are all pulled, state permits are pulled. You pay the annual state permit fee every year. City annex or change their ordinance, that's what made it non-conforming. And the city changed their ordinance. So these legal non-conforming signs are everywhere. So we could use it as a tool. If you don't like signs, it's one thing, but it's a tool. You should look at it from a business standpoint. If you guys are purchasing billboards, here's something handed to you. And you can use it to your advantage, either as an advertising tool or, well, I guess there's no taxes paid on that, but when we do a private landowner, that's what they look, and it's typically renewed as a non-conforming sign, legal non-conforming sign.
So then why would you come in here and want us to, why would you kind of come in and push for it? I mean, it really doesn't benefit you any.
Well, that's our business. That's what I do this every week, every month with various sign owners, landowners all around the state.
Did you get paid for it?
Yeah, that's my job, is to deal with landowners. I'm the leasing manager for Franklin Outdoor. And there's property gets annexed, it changes regulations, the legal non-conforming clause is a state statute that we're able to keep the signs there if something out of our control changed. And I just think it's many local businesses use the sign. For years it's been, the sign's been they're longer than I've been working for Franklin, but we have relationships with a lot of local businesses here in town, and they use those signs. It's a benefit for the businesses.
Well, I see the CVB rents a sign, the golf course rents a sign on the highways. I just don't understand why we have money going out if we can do it on our own property and not pay for it. And once again, back to the grandfathering part, if there's other ones that are grandfathered in, why wouldn't this one be grandfathered in like the rest of them if it's been there previously? But, no.
I would like to see, us do a little more checking instead of just making a quick decision here. There might be more legal issues to this than what I happen to know right now. We could say others are doing this or this or this, but it may not fall in that grouping. And I would like to have, especially with the issues we've had with signs and off-premise signs especially, maybe this is something we need to take a step further and refer to the League of Minnesota Cities and see what they feel we should do on this.
Well, I'll go to Paul if we're anybody.
The thing I'm wondering about, would you pay us rent $1,800 per year? And you said we could advertise on it.
Be one or the other.
So, but we gotta pay you to advertise on it.
We would, with what we have there, we'd swap a sign out for you for the rent.
Yeah.
There would be no charge for it.
And if the CVB wanted to rent it, then they would have to pay you to rent it. Or.
I'm not sure what the relationship is there,
Right.
but I know they've purchased billboards from us in the past.
Right.
I think we've had a Zoom sign.
already exists.
Yep.
Yeah, I would like to see us check into this a little bit further and see what the,
Well, it's not like we don't have time. This is the 15th of, for 2015, in September when it expires, so.
Is 1,800, is that for the going rate?
Yeah, and I think it would increase after 5 years. Yeah, I can, from a private, if a private person looks at it, they see an asset for it. And I understand that the city doesn't allow billboards anymore, but at one time they did, and most of those are still standing and being useful. It's just, it's now a legal, non-conforming sign.
and how much rent do you usually get a month on these? Or I should say a year, 6 months. It's up to about 4,000.
Depends on if we get paid or not from the people. It's a
Yeah.
business, you gotta go chase it down and
Yeah, and usually it's about 4,000. I guess it all depends where the location. If it's a crummy location.
yeah, it's
then
location and size.
Sometimes it's 6,000, yeah. So so basically you're saying it'd be 1,800 to us, and then you would then turn around and resell it to somebody else.
Yeah.
Unless we have it, unless we use it.
It's something we could do. You could put a sign for the city or one of your, golf course or the zoo or any business the city owns. Or perhaps we could, if you don't want that location, we look at another location somewhere in where it might be better for you that works out. But you'd be able to get a sign without having to pay for it somewhere.
And you have signed all over, don't you? You're pretty much all over.
Yeah, around central Minnesota. So, but I just wanted to bring it up, we got a little less than a year, so it's time to start making contacts, which I do with, private landowners, and you guys are the ones I have to talk to here, and, so I'd like to work something out with you, and if you guys think it's in your best interest.
Well, we'll keep working on it because we have till next year, it's September, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Should I talk to Lori, or?
Yeah, once the council makes a decision, she'll be able to tell you what the process is.
Okay. All right, thank
Thank
you very
you.
much.
Thank you, Dan. Okay.